Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick video discussing the Gangster Grip, the center axis relock grip, and a little bit about the wrist and the forearm and, what's happening when you grip the gun in these ways. Alright, so where to begin? A couple of years ago I saw a video on, I think it was a Zombie Tacticals channel, and I'll link it down below so you can find it. And he was discussing a bit as well about the difference between center axis relock and then the Gangster Grip. And from memory serves me right, I probably should have watched the video but recently again, but I didn't. But he said that someone else told him that holding the gun in what's now known as the Gangster Grip is a natural way to do it, because apparently when, I think it was like kids point, they point with their hands like this, so that it fits in for the gun that way. Well, here's the thing, they don't. Or even if kids do it, adults don't. And I know this because I went out into the city and just, for fun, I wanted to see actually how people point. I asked 20 people as I was walking around. I asked them, hey, where can I find the whatever location? The locations kept changing, but I made sure it was places that everyone would know where it was. And so, yeah, I said, hey, where can I find the certain place? And of all the 20 people that I asked, every single one of them except one, but I'll get to her in a minute, they all pointed like this, with their hand at a 45-degree angle. And the only one that didn't do it was this chick that was like in her early 20s, that was this weird emo scene kind of looking girl who was really over-exaggerating every one of her movements. And I asked her where I could find the whatever place, and she literally did this. She goes, I think I can help you, good sir. You need to travel up that road 200 meters. I wish I was fucking kidding. And she pointed like that. So, because she's weird, that one doesn't count. So 19 out of 20, and the 19 people were all normal. Yeah, they just naturally point like that. But her over-exaggerating her movements, that definitely wasn't, a natural way of pointing. So, fuck her, she didn't help me at all. She did give me good directions, though. That's one thing going for her. But anyway, so the other thing I want to talk about with the wrist positioning, well, some people's arms are structured differently. Now, I'm double-jointed, and this part here of my elbow, I can have it up like this, and most people, when they move their arms like so, it tends to follow with them. But with me, I can do this, and it stays where it is. So, it doesn't matter if I'm shooting the normal way, where I hold the gun upright like that. I just naturally put it out to the way that I normally do, and this is, almost at a horizontal angle. So I would need to do that in order to have it being held the normal way. This was also something that gave me issues when I was doing professional archery back in the day. I had to hold the bow and the arrow a different way. So I would have the bow in my left hand because I'm right-handed, so the right hand pulls back on the string. However, the arrow I always had on this side, not this side, which is the way most competition shooters did. As I found out, most ancient archers held the arrow on this side anyway, so they can get quick draws in. But the thing is that as I was pulling back on the string, because this pokes out, I learned very quickly that every time I let go, it would come and cut across my arm, and I get this big whiplash. So I had to angle it out in certain different ways. So rather than holding it up straight like that, I kind of had to put it at an angle anyway, because every time I move my arm this way, it tends to form in line with it. So anyway, so there was another talk, and again it was mentioned on Zombie Tactical's channel, where he said that apparently shooting in the Gangster Grip isn't a very effective way of holding the gun, because something to do with these two bones. I'm not a fucking scientist or surgeon or whatever the profession is where you're supposed to know what the bones are called. So these two bones in the arm, when you do that, they cross over each other, and apparently that doesn't give you a good stable structure. Well, like I said, before I did center axis relock, I was using Weaver, then I did isosceles, and both of them require me to hold my my arm and hand like this, so I didn't really have a choice. They were going to cross over anyway because of the way that my elbow kind of forms. With that being said, the only time where it does properly line up is when I'm in the car position, because now I can't move my elbow joints around. This all gets locked in place. But again, there's more on that, which I'll talk about in a part 3 video of center axis relock and pistols. At the moment, I just want to talk about the connection between a Gangster Grip and center axis relock. So, when it comes to the origin of the Gangster Grip, this is what I want to talk about. Before it was known as the Gangster Grip, it was called the side grip. And what people would do was often SWAT teams and other individuals that needed to clear out rooms. So what they'd do is they kick the door down, and guns back then, a lot of the submachine guns had a tendency to climb with their automatic fire. So if there was, say, 3 targets in the room, rather than kicking down the door and holding the gun up the normal way and having to go, okay, gun climbs, then realign it to the next target, gun climbs, they just held it to the side and then let it rip so they could take out more targets at a quicker rate. And it was always known as the side grip then, but it was used in specific situations by specific people, professionals generally, maybe some gangsters as well, but I don't know, I didn't look in that far back into the history. But the other thing is that other SWAT operators used it when they were behind the riot shield, because when you held the gun up this way, they had a lot of difficulty seeing through the looking glass of those riot shields, or the looking window, I'll say. Not really. Anyway, so because they couldn't look down the sights, they didn't have much of a choice. They had to hold the gun sideways anyway to look down the sights. And some other people also, due to the ocular dominance thing, they had issues doing it that way. So some of the operators would held their gun at diagonally. So between 45 and 15 degree angle, I think it was, and they would use the opposite eye to look down the sights. Sound familiar? So, I know, for all I know, the side grip actually could have been the origin of center axis relock. Again, fortunately and sadly, Paul Castle, founder of center axis relock, is no longer among the living, so I can't ask him that. I don't know, maybe he told someone else if that was the case or not, then they can share the story, but I don't have that information. But this video wasn't really to talk about the potential origin story of center axis relock. I'm merely saying that there is a bit of a connection there, and that the Gangster Grip isn't something that just dickheads that listen to shit music do. When they're like, oh yeah, you want some, fool, you want some? Okay, it does have a particular purpose, but again, it's a specific, situation that you need to be in. But typically, even though I prefer center axis relock, holding the gun this way I still think is a lot better than holding the gun that way for, general shooting purposes. So yeah, other than that, when it comes to, the natural way of people pointing as well, it'll be a 45 degree angle. So as far as I'm concerned, holding the gun this way is more natural for me. And I also want to go on the record here by stating that there are other systems as well that teach people to hold guns at a 45 degree angle that don't teach center axis relock. That also comes from a lot of martial arts when they teach throwing a straight punch, how they, have you hold your fist at a 45 degree angle. I know tactical response, yes, James Yeagers, he teaches people to shoot with a gun held at a 45 degree angle, even though he straight out said that he thinks center axis relock is shit, so I don't know. There's another firearms instructor by the name of Gabriel Suarez. He's got a few instructional DVDs and stuff like that, and some other videos on YouTube. He also teaches people to hold guns at a 45 degree angle. Not necessarily for like every single time you need to shoot something, but it is part of the system, so people have clued into the fact that this is a natural way of, aligning something like for a punch, or putting in, like, just like pointing, and so, yeah, they incorporated it. So it does seem to be the better way as far as alignment with the wrist goes, but, yeah, again, there have been plenty of people that have been able to use the side grip to do room sweeps, and, yeah, the whole fucking, like, bone thing being, like, this position or whatever and being less strong, it didn't really make a difference. Personally, I think if you're too physically weak to be able to, hold a gun in any way, because you can't control the recoil, no matter how you hold the gun, it's not going to work out to your favor, so, it is what it is. Anyway, all in all, so hopefully this one's been informative, and I'll just end this on by talking about how it became the Gangster Grip. There's a Hood movie that came out in 1993, I think it is, called Menace to Society, and I've never seen it because it's not really my kind of movie, but I did research into it, and the Gangster Grip became popular with that movie because the opening scene, apparently a guy holds up a convenience store, using the side grip, and 6 years before that movie came out, the directors said that they actually saw a store get held up that way, and they said it had some sort of, I think there was sloppy realism or something to it, and so they're like, well, we saw this in real life, so we'll put it in the movie to make it seem more believable. And then, of course, it became popular, all the rappers and stuff like that started, doing it, and, other people that, kind of affiliated it with being cool, and borderline arrogant as well, tended to do it. And so that's where it then became known as the Gangster Grip, and then people tend to forget about the history as to when it was called the Side Grip. So, yeah, as much as I don't like people using, the Side Grip as an everyday thing, I think that is pretty stupid. Just know that, yeah, there was a time where, and still to this day, where it does have its advantages. But again, specific situations. So, other than that, I recommend, well, obviously I'm going to say Center Access Relock because that's what I personally believe is the most effective one. Other than that, I would say Isosceles is the other one if you just, for whatever reason, really don't like the car system. I don't know why people still use Weaver. Yeah, it's outdated, and I really think that, if people aren't going to use the car system, then Isosceles is the way to go. Or even modified versions of Isosceles. When I was using Isosceles, I didn't actually hold the gun like this with my arms parallel. I held it down like this. Right? So it was kind of like a cross between Isosceles and Weaver. And so maybe it's the other reason as to why when I'm in the apogee position with the car system, it's not that hard for me to make the adjustment. But again, I felt it more comfortable doing this and pulling on it while pushing like so. But yeah, this way I never really found it to be very comfortable, so I never used it. So I hit more targets this way, and of course now I don't use that anymore because I've upgraded. Anyway, yeah. So before I run off on more tangents, thank you for watching. Go practice your stuff, and as always, stay safe.